March 1940, Britain is being strangled. Quietly. Not by tanks at Dover or bombs over London, but by the sudden, soundless absence of ships that should be steaming into Liverpool, Clyde, Bristol. Another convoy leaves Halifax. Another returns with gaps in the line, empty places where men and cargo should be. In 4 months, more than 250 Allied ships vanish beneath the Atlantic. That's grain that never becomes bread, fuel that never becomes flight hours, and sailors who never see home again. Britain grows only a third of its food. The rest must cross an ocean hunted by U-boats that prowl at night, surface to strike, and slip away under a slate-black sea. Convoy commodores live with impossible math, sail faster and abandon slow ships, zigzag and burn fuel, tighten formation and become one great target. Churchill, who will stare down invasion, the Blitz and the fall of France, later says only one thing truly frightened him: the U-boat peril. And then another menace appears where no one expects it, inside Britain's own front yard. Ghost explosions. November 21st, 1939, HMS Gypsy steams through the Thames estuary. Home waters, safe water, no periscopes, no torpedo wakes. Just a white geyser, a tearing shock, and a destroyer broken like a toy. 3 days later, a merchantman blows apart in the same channel. Then another, and another. No enemy subs in those shallows. No contact mines on the sweeping charts. Ships simply sail and cease. Harbors become murder rooms. Captains who faced U-boats without flinching now fear their own approaches. Some refuse orders. The Admiralty, for once, has no answer. Until a German plane drops something by parachute onto mudflats near Shoeburyness. The tide falls. Bomb disposal men wade out, cold water licking their boots, and find not a bobbing mine with horns, but a smooth, sealed cylinder with no obvious trigger. Lieutenant Commander John Ouvry's team works against the creeping tide. They open the casing and stare into the future. Not a tripwire for steel, but a magnet for it, a sensitive sensor that waits for the invisible tug of a ship's magnetic field and then detonates. Germany has weaponized physics. The penny drops. Sweeps miss them because they sit on the bottom. Shallow channels go up because steel hulls are magnets. The Thames becomes a death trap because the mine hunts what every ship carries, whether it's at sea, at anchor, in fog, or in daylight, a magnetic signature. The mine and its inner secrets land on the desk of a man who doesn't look like a naval savior at all. The crazy idea. Charles Good is a Canadian chemistry professor drafted into Britain's Department of Miscellaneous Weapons Development, an official title that is somehow both hilarious and horrifying. The job description. If it might work, try it yesterday. Senior officers talk in naval language. More sweepers, thicker plates, better charts. Good speaks physics. Every steel ship, he explains, is magnetized as it's built in the Earth's field. The hammering, welding, and bending line up countless iron domains until the hull itself carries a quiet north and south. Mines don't need to touch that hull. They just need to feel it. His proposal sounds deranged the first time you hear it. Wrap ships in electrical cable, run current through the coils, and generate a perfectly opposite magnetic field, one that cancels the ship's own. To the mine's sensor, the ship becomes a ghost. Noise-canceling headphones. But for magnetism, the room is skeptical. Someone asks if the professor's been drinking, but the math doesn't snare. A field with one polarity can be neutralized by an equal field with the other. Do it right, and a 10,000-ton freighter's magnetic glow shrinks from 30 feet to inches below a mine's threshold. The catch? No one has ever done this on anything bigger than a boat shed door. Good isn't proposing a gadget. He's proposing to rewire an empire. Battleships, destroyers, tramps, tankers, trawlers, thousands of unique hulls, each with its own magnetic fingerprint. Ships are blowing up now. The Admiralty does the only rational thing left. Proceed. How you make a ship disappear. At HMS Vernon in Portsmouth, January 1940, Good's team selects a small minesweeper as a guinea pig. They measure her magnetic field from bow to stern, port to starboard, using delicate magnetometers borrowed from universities. Then they wrap 2,000 feet of thick copper cable around the hull. One continuous loop, carefully rotated and braced. A generator comes online. Current flows. The ship's magnetic signature collapses by more than 90%. Sailed over test sensors, she becomes a rumor. The method gets a name, degaussing. Degauss, to take the gauss, the unit of magnetic field, out of a thing. The principle is simple. The execution is lunacy. Every hull must be measured, every coil custom placed, the current tuned to that ship's iron, steel, yard of berth, and even the direction it faced in construction. Too little current and mines still feel you. Too much and you set fires and scramble electrics. Do one ship? A day. Do the British merchant fleet. 9,000 ships, plus the Royal Navy. Good stares at the numbers and sees the real battle. Logistics. 2,000 feet of cable per hull means millions of feet of copper, a commodity Britain already needs for lighting cities, wiring factories, and arming aircraft. The workers must know both electricity and shipbuilding. Where do you find them mid-war? You don't. You make them. A crash program at wartime speed degaussing stations sprout at Portsmouth, Liverpool, Glasgow, Belfast, Cardiff, anywhere a ship can tie up. A standing drill emerges. Arrive, measure, design the coil pattern, rig scaffolds, bolt and strap cable every few feet, weatherproof connections, wire in a generator. Power up, test, adjust, test again. Do it in 48 hours if fortune smiles. Redo it if readings are off. Fortune rarely smiles. So Good invents a stopgap, wiping. Big shore coils throw a strong, brief external field as a ship idles past, temporarily scrambling its hull magnetism for a few weeks. It's not elegant. It buys time. Time is the only currency that matters. Workers are drafted from everywhere and nowhere. Retired electricians, university physics students yanked straight from lectures, women trained to read magnetometers and calculate coil currents, men and women who have never seen a dry dock become experts at fastening cable in winter rain by the light of hooded lamps. 3 shifts, 7 days, through Luftwaffe raids and sirens. Sparks fly at midnight. Coffee goes cold and is still drunk. By summer 1940, more than 3,000 people are working this one miracle. By year's end, thousands of ships carry coils. By mid-1941, 10,000. Canada sets up stations at Halifax and Montreal. Neutral on paper America quietly follows. Gibraltar, Alexandria, Cape Town, Bombay, wherever the sea route kinks, a degaussing shed appears. Manuals are written, kits are shipped, foreign crews are trained. And because war's a hydra, while Britain solves one horror, another grows 2 heads. The U-boat war doesn't stop. France falls, giving U-boats direct access to the Atlantic from Brest and Lorient. Patrols get longer, sinkings spike. November 1941, alone, 62 Allied ships, 300,000 tons. Donitz's wolf packs coordinate by day, kill by night, and submerge by dawn. Degaussing can't stop a torpedo, but it does something almost as valuable. It removes an entire category of terror. Harbors and estuaries become safe again. Escorts can shape routes through shallow water without worrying that a stray buoy hides a magnetic trigger. Port approaches are no longer a lottery. Convoys can concentrate thought, steel, radar, direction finding, aircraft, everything on one kind of killer instead of 2. Morale, the least visible but most decisive ordnance of war, lifts. Crews stop dreading the last hour before home. captains who hated orders now volunteer for them, the steady drumbeat of mystery explosions in home waters. Ships that should never have died. Fades to nothing. The numbers say it cleanly. In the first quarter of 1940, before degaussing is widespread, more than 100 ships are sunk or damaged by magnetic mines in home waters. By late that same year, after the cable wraps and wipe stations scale up, that falls to under 20 in a similar span. By 1941, magnetic mine losses are a rounding error. Germany adapts because enemies always do. More sensitive triggers, acoustic add-ons that listen for propeller beat, pressure fuses that want both a magnetic signature and a hulls passing push. But adaptation takes time, and Britain now has a playbook. Understand the physics, then engineer the counter. Minesweepers become surgeons. New mines are studied, catalogued, neutralized. Degaussing, meanwhile, becomes invisible in the best way. Routine. New-build ships launch with coils already bedded into their steel. Liberty ships roll down American ways with degaussing in the blueprint. By 1942, fit coils, test field, is as ordinary as paint hull, swing compass. The ghost that haunted British harbours is dead. The wolf at sea still bites. But the bittern can at least reach the battlefield. Why it works, and why it's hard, Earth is a magnet. Its field lines drape from north to south like unseen curtains. Build a ship inside that field, and the beating and heating of the steel align countless tiny compass needles inside the metal. A signature forms, strongest at bow and stern where the curves concentrated. Mines sense change, not presence. A hull passes, the field swings, a circuit closes. 650 pounds of explosive turn salt water into sledgehammers. Degaussing wraps the hull in loops that carry current tuned to oppose that signature, north to south, south to north. So the net field near the mine's sensor falls below the bang line. The art is in the tuning. Two ships built to the same plan can demand different currents because their iron came from different ore, or their yard faced another direction. Even a voyage can change a signature as stresses and repairs accumulate. That's why degaussing isn't wire and forget. It's measure, tune, remeasure, a maintenance habit like greasing bearings and sounding tanks. It looks like cable and sweat. It is a national physics lesson taught at speed. The human machine. If the system sounds industrial, the experience is personal. Dock gangs lower thick reels that weigh like small cars. Coil teams bolt brackets along plates that are icy to the touch. Engineers crouch in cable runs with clipboards and chalk, scrawl currents on steel, and mark "test again" in grease pencil. After installation, a ship creeps through a testing range while a shore hut full of students watches needles jitter and then flatten. If the trace stays high, the crew unbolts half the work and tries again. Air raid sirens howl. Someone says, "Keep going." Liverpool burns in May 1941. Its degaussing station does not stop. London's docks take bomb after bomb. Coils go on. Portsmouth listens to the thud of high explosive and keeps threading copper around steel. By the end of 1940, Britain has changed not just its fleet, but its mind. The Navy of Nelson takes orders from a Canadian professor with a coil map and a generator. That is institutional courage. The courage to be wrong yesterday, so you can be right today. Aftermath and legacy. Magnetic mines never again paralyze British shipping. The Battle of the Atlantic remains brutal until the end. Escorts, long-range patrol aircraft, HF-DF sets, escort carriers, hedgehogs, Lee lights, Enigma brakes, and sheer nerve all do their part. But degaussing removes one blade from the enemy's hand at precisely the moment Britain cannot afford one more wound. Charles Good doesn't become a household name. There is no statue in Trafalgar Square of a man holding a cable. He moves from miscellaneous weapons to senior posts, earns a knighthood, and keeps solving problems. History gives its flashbulbs to battles. It gives its tomorrows to people like him. The idea he proved becomes doctrine. Every serious navy degausses its ships. Submarines use even subtler systems to hide from magnetic anomaly detectors. Undersea cables and scientific instruments borrow the same principles to keep interference out. The broader lesson lodges deeper than steel. Modern wars fought in the invisible: radio, radar, sonar, code, magnetism, and victory goes to the side that learns faster. There's another lesson, quieter but braver. The Royal Navy, one of the most tradition-bound institutions on Earth, hands a civilian scientist the keys to its hulls and says, if it works, do it everywhere. That flexibility under mortal pressure is a kind of heroism too. Closing image picture. A grey Atlantic dawn. A convoy forms a ragged procession on the horizon, plodding freighters, a tanker that burns fuel like hope, a scatter of destroyers twitching at phantom contacts. Somewhere on the seabed, a magnetic mine waits, as patient as death. The first ship passes overhead. The mine feels the earth. It feels a gull's shadow, a tide's slow breath. It does not feel a ship. Above, a helmsman scratches his jaw and stares at nothing, alive for reasons he will never know. In the engine room, a chief wipes copper grease from his hands and curses a generator that squealed last week until a girl from the degaussing shed recalculated the current and fixed what he could not see. Bread will be baked from that cargo, babies will be fed, an island will not starve. Sometimes the craziest idea is the correct one. Sometimes the hero isn't on the bridge or in a cockpit, but in a lab, staring at numbers and deciding that if you can't stop the bomb, you can make it blind.